are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Spurs continue to make roster changes, this time saying adios to Lonnie Walker, and it seems like the tank is coming next season, but are fans ready? Welcome back to Locked On Spurs on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs digital beat writer for KENS5.com. Glad to have you back. Hope you had a great, relaxing weekend. Enjoyed some Spurs basketball. Yes, summer Spurs are in action. 2 games down, 2 games to go. Hopefully they'll play more, depending on the outcome of how they play in these 4 games. But nevertheless, it's time for another fan episode. And there's been more changes with the team. Specifically, Lonnie Walker is now wearing purple and gold. He is a Laker now, but he has some interesting things to say about his transition from San Antonio to Los Angeles. We're going to get into that, get the fan thought, as well as already looking at next season as far as what appears to be a bad down season, a tank season maybe. Our fans ready for that and much more. I am joined by a guy that you should know by now. He is Danny Sanders. Danny, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
You know, this is my favorite, or one of my favorite things to do. Hop on the pod with you, Jeff. So thanks for the welcome. And I think we have a new guest here, don't we?
Yeah, I think this is your first time you ever. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you've never done a duo fan show before, have you? No, you have. You have with Zach. Yeah, you with Zach. Yeah. Danny.
Oh,
Danny
yeah,
did one with Zach.
Sure.
Yeah. Danny did one with Zach.
This is the first time I remember our new guest being on here. I don't think I've heard one with him. So,
well, Abel has. Let's go to bring him in now. He is Abel Dominguez. Abel, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. He's been on Locked On Spurs before a while back. It's been a minute since he's here. Yep. I think you've done twice already, Abel, right? Something like that.
I think it was like 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
I need to go. I need to go back in the archives for that one because I need to listen.
Oh
to
yeah,
those.
You're gonna have to dig deep though. This is a long time ago. But he is back and he's ready to take on Danny and a fan versus fan chat. Abel, it's been a while since you've been back on Locked On Spurs, so let's go and give a quick rundown for those of y'all who are new to this, as far as when it comes to fan episodes. With fan episodes, Abel and Danny will give the pulse of the fan, the pulse of the fan. What is going on with them? What do they think about these topics? And then they'll sprinkle in their personal thoughts as well. Danny, are you going to be a gentleman and let Abel go first?
You know, yes, I am always ever the gentleman. I will let Abel go first. And yes, I mean, obviously I love sharing fan takes, but I mean, you've had me on enough to know, like, as the definitive voice of Spurs Twitter, yeah, I mean, you're kind of getting the heart of what the fans are thinking. Even though I have kind of taken a little bit of a palate cleanser here as of late, haven't been on Twitter, kind of logged off a little bit.
That. Yeah. You took a hiatus from social media.
Yeah, trying to optimize my humanness and kind of trying to get creative off of social media. So working on some projects, but I'm lurking. I see y'all.
All right. Well, Abel, you're going to go first on this episode of Locked On Spurs. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is Lonnie Walker. Abel, first of all, what was the general vibe with the fans when the news came out that he was not going to come back to the Spurs, that the Spurs pulled their qualifying offer to him, basically telling him, all right, thanks, Lonnie, for the time. Good luck. See you down the road. What was the vibe? Were Spurs fans upset or kind of like, whatever, bye-bye, Lonnie?
I think it was kind of, they were a little bit whatever. I think they were surprised that the Spurs gave him that qualifying offer and then pulled it, the next day, I think it was.
Yeah, it was almost immediately, right?
Yeah. So I'd say the Lonnie is a great guy, but I think when it comes to being a Spur, he didn't live up to what we had hoped he would be. He had that great game against Houston that I remember Houston tried to get us to play again because the ball went in and out of the rim. But
I remember that. Yeah.
But I
But
think
that's the
that
thing. Everybody just hung on to that one game. Like that one game. I mean, years had passed, and people's like, no, we're gonna get that Houston Rockets, Lonnie. And they were still clinging to it, Abel. And I think that's where the frustration came in with Spurs fans. But what about you? Were you upset to see him go, or you didn't care?
I was a little sad to see him go. I liked Lonnie. I have a tendency when it comes to Spurs players to like them as people, so I was sad to see him go. Um, like I always said, he gave us probably the greatest Spurs draft day photo with his hair, so that was
Mm-hmm.
always nice to see. But I was a little sad to see him go, but not a big fan that he went over to the Lakers.
Danny, I know Danny's chomping at the bit right now to talk about Lonnie here, but uh, fans, Danny, just kept on clinging to that Houston game. Like that Houston game was the benchmark, and he just never lived up to that again. I mean, sure, he had his days. I think last season he had that string of games where he had like 20 something or more. When what was it? Hell, it was 2 years ago. My mistake. When DeMar was out. I mean, that's how long ago it was. But my point is that it just felt like the overwhelming vibe with Spurs fans was like, all right, Lonnie, thanks. See you later.
Yeah, thanks but no thanks, and thanks for nothing. Ultimately, that Houston game and the game right after that, I forget who we played, and it's been so long now. I think it was 3 years ago. I do remember the game was played in December, but I don't remember who we played after that. But that 2 game stretch was a perfect microcosm of Lonnie Walker's career so far, because he was tantalizing, enthralling, captivating. He just sparked our imagination as Spurs fans as far as just being able to see who he who we thought who we hoped he could become, as far as leading us back to the promised land, and leading us as a star in the making for that Houston game, scoring I think 32 points, bringing us back from double digits and taking us into overtime and beating the hated Rockets. And then literally the next game, I think Pop either did not play him or barely played him. I don't remember exactly what happened, but something happened to where I don't even think he played very much the next game. And whether it's on Pop, I've voiced my qualms about Pop before, as far as my disagreements as far as how he handles maybe teams or the players necessarily. But it is. It's very much meh. I think the overall vibe was, he had 4 years to prove himself. I think this last year, whenever he kind of bet on himself as far as not taking any kind of contract offer, or even if one was given, I don't know if that was ever reported, whether the Spurs even offered one to extend him. But it's fitting he goes to the Lakers, even though, I know as Spurs fans, we all hate the Lakers. It's fitting he goes there because very much style over substance. And I think ultimately as a player, that's what Lonnie is. Very, very style over substance. He's going to give you the flashy dunks. He's going to give you the heart pounding moves where, he goes to the basket and then ultimately misses an easy layup. That's who Lonnie Walker is. And it's one of those things where I'm actually kind of glad that he's gone now. And this is coming from somebody who was a very big advocate for him. I think I said 2 years ago, if he put everything together, he could become a top 10 player in the league. And rarely am I ever wrong, but I guess I was wrong on that one. But it's sayonara. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you on the way out. So, it's kind of one of those things where he's not necessarily the draft bust that Luka Samanic was, but he definitely didn't produce. He definitely didn't become the player that I think a lot of us, especially me, thought he would become. So, that's kind of the breaks.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head on out there right now. Check out the odds on any free agents possibly heading to San Antonio. If you really want to see what the Spurs odds are and winning the championship next season, go check it out at BetOnline. BetOnline.net, remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports events, MMA, boxing, and golf. Here's what you got to do. Go to the website right now. Go, hurry up. Just go get your cell phone. Go get on your computer. Get on your laptop. Get on your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Abel, you brought up something right now. You talking about like how you felt, like a connection to him, like you like them as a person or something like that. But Abel, don't you think fans in this point of the Spurs history need to abandon that mentality? Because right now it's just business, and the business of basketball is obviously making money, but also getting wins and reaching titles. The Spurs traded away DeJounte Murray. For as much as they showered him with love, they still shipped him out for business. It was nothing personal. It was just business. Although DeJounte did say it was a mutual party. Do you think Spurs fans need to abandon that? So, for example, I'm making this up. You hear a report that the Spurs are going to trade, Josh Primo. Spurs pump the brakes on their feelings, and it's just their automatic reaction should be, okay, what are we getting in return?
They probably should, at least for the foreseeable future, because Spurs aren't going to be what we have been the past couple decades. So players are going to come and go. I mean, what was it? After Tim, Tony, and Manu, the longest tenured Spur was Patty.
Yeah,
and we all loved Patty, and he had to go too. So, I mean, yeah, as far as putting feelings aside, it's probably going to be best that happens for the next couple years until we figure out who our star player, our go-to player is going to be.
Yeah. I think that's the mentality that Spurs fans have to have in this rebuild. We're going to be talking about the rebuild in a bit. But
I have a hot take on that one, Jeff.
Go ahead.
I have a hot take, and not to belabor the point. I know we're kind of short on time, and I don't want to steal Abel's thunder. Here's what I've been ruminating over the last week, and I think that the Spurs are going to do this without actually saying that they're going to do this. They're just going to show us through their actions. Okay, so you know how the last 25, 30 years, the Spurs have been ahead of the curve on scouting, on European scouting, overseas scouting, the way they've handled the health and well-being of their players, doing the whole sitting out with Tim because he's old, and Manu and Tony, and extending their careers, how they were ahead of the curve on that. So they've been the head of the curve in so much, and it seems like, especially since Kawhi left, I think I even remember Zach Lowe mentioning there's kind of been a brain drain over the last couple of years where some key personnel from the Spurs front office and their coaching staff has kind of been whisked away to where we've lost a little bit of that edge. And I think we might be getting it back a little bit. And while it may not show on the court necessarily, I think this is where it's going to be. I think that the Spurs are kind of getting ahead on the curve on realizing that this is the new NBA. And I think I even tweeted last week something along the lines of how the Spurs finally decided to join the new NBA. So what I mean when I say that is they realize that whenever they're drafting these players, even the players they just drafted, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, and Blake Wesley, whether they become stars or not, whether they become really good players or not, chances are they're not going to end their career here. This isn't the Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker Spurs, where it's like, hey, we started with the Spurs, we're going to end our career with the Spurs. I think that they realize, hey, you know what? We're going to develop the hell out of these players and try to make them the best that they can be, and we'll try to keep them. I mean, if they're superstars, we want to keep them. But I think they're realizing that the culture and the way that these new NBA players work, these players don't want to stay in one place anymore. I mean, you look at DeJounte. I think he stopped maybe about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, talking about bringing a championship to San Antonio. That talk kind of stopped a little bit. And even though he kind of sent out that Zach LaVine picture at the beginning of free agency, shortly before then, in a Spurs jersey, it all kind of stopped. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's that sense that the Spurs realize they're not drafting players to stay San Antonio Spurs for their whole career. They're drafting players for their potential to see, hey, can we make this player a superstar? And if we can, let's see if we can hold them here as long as possible. But I think they're willing to cut bait, and they've kind of shown that now with Lonnie leaving and trading away DeJounte.
Yeah.
And
don't forget about Derek as well. Derek is,
exactly. Derek White. I'm hoping and believing that they're going to be also making some more moves. I would really like to see Jakob Poeltl get traded, and maybe even Keldon Johnson, honestly. So I think that they're heading towards that route to where they're kind of getting ahead of the curve on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Doug McDermott as well is probably on his way out too. A social package, something like that. But Abel, before we get to the next topic here, I want to talk to you about something what just Danny just said right now. About developing and raising the stock of these players. Basically, it feels like they're playing a glorified stock market. Let's just build up the stock as high as we can and then sell it off at a high price. I get a feeling that that's what they're doing, and I think if we start seeing a pattern here, what was the core long ago, Abel? It was Lonnie, Derek, and DeJounte, and KJ, but with KJ still here though. Those three guys are gonna help be part of the future core. We're gonna build around these core. Well, they're all gone now. Do you think they're just gonna do like groups, like literally in groups? Like, okay, now our next group to develop, and if they don't develop shortly, then we'll ship them out. Could be maybe Vassell, Keldon, and hell, throw in Primo in there. Do you think they're just doing like these groups to see who will be next? What can we net? Because let's face it, the only way I think they're going to get a top tier cornerstone piece player is probably to the draft table.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it certainly seems like. I mean, I know you've got people on Twitter saying that Spurs are like a farm team, I think is the term that was used. Like, we raise them, see how they're going to be, and then ship them off to, in Derek's case, bigger and better things. So, I mean, it seems like that's what it's going to be. I don't know how sustainable that's going to be for the Spurs in the long run, because if we're just getting players, training them, and then they go off to be better, then we're going to suck for a long time, and we're not going to find who we need. For all this talk about, we need to get higher picks in the draft, not every high draft pick is a sure thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A couple more things about Lonnie Walker. I'll start with you, Abel, real fast here. He said some interesting things in his Welcome to LA conference call. I was a part of it. And one of the things that stood out for me was one, that he said that he didn't feel that he was going to be included in the Spurs reset. He said that he did have an eye towards coming back to San Antonio, but he said when he saw DeJounte leave, he saw the rebuild starting, that he didn't feel like he was going to be in those included plans, that he felt that it was time for him to go. And also he said that when he saw all the Lakers trophies, that he started sweating, and that he was so excited to be there to bring a championship to Los Angeles. What did you think about his comments on him not feeling a part of the rebuild, and then his title, comments, seeing the Lakers trophies?
I mean, I can see where he says he didn't feel like he was a part of the rebuild, because I mean, we just drafted three really young guys, and I guess he felt like he had been here his time, and while he wanted to stay, supposedly, he just didn't feel like he was a part of it. But again, his flashes were minute, if even that. So I'm sure there was a part of the Spurs that indirectly told him, like, we're not going to keep you. There's no point to.
This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning? You can just go to your own computer right now and check out rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Look, save time and money when using Rock Auto. Don't go spending up to 30, 50, even 100% more for the same part from a chain store or car dealership. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. And those prices at Rock Auto, they're reliably low for each and every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today. Find all the solutions you need for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all of the parts available for your car or truck. And when you go there, write Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. An amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. Yeah. Danny, I was about to say, Danny, do you think Lonnie needed a tour at the AT&T Center to see the Spurs trophies too?
No, and I know Abel's kind of easing his way back in here, so he's trying to be a little nice. Let's get real. Lonnie never had an eye to come back here to the Spurs, never. By that last game, if we remember, okay, and there was a little bit of controversy with this one, and I never forgot it, and I know a lot of Spurs fans never forgot it. He didn't like the fact that he didn't get more playing time in that last game against the Pelicans, even liking, I think, a Twitter comment, something along the lines of asking like why Pop didn't put Lonnie in. Cause I think he had a good, pretty solid first half. I think he had made like 5 or 6 or 7 shots. Really the only one other than Devin Vassell making any shots in that first half, and then hardly played at all in the second half. And that's just, Pop's gonna pop, right? And he liked that comment, and I think even back then, and probably even before then, maybe even before last season, he knew he wasn't coming back. So for him to kind of throw this shade out as far as saying like, well, I didn't feel a part of the rebuild. He probably wasn't, because ultimately, he never showed the progress. He never showed the part of his game, the development that would constitute him being part of the rebuild. He was young enough. I think he's only 22, so it's not like he's old. He wasn't DeJounte old as far as being 25. And just a side note, if 25 is old and not within the timeline anymore, then golly,
Yeah.
For us guys who are 40 years old, I don't know what we're doing. But he was never going to come back. And this bullshit as far as him like sweating when seeing the Lakers titles and championships. You know what? A lot of those titles and championships, and yes, I know Shaq and Kobe won 3, Kobe and Powell won 2, I think, in the latter part of the aughts. But prior to that, a lot of those championships were won whenever there was 2 or 3 or 7 teams in the NBA. So let's stop with that. Both the Celtics and Lakers fans need to stop with that. That's just, he's just pandering to his audience. The Lakers fans now are salivating over his promise, and they're going to see the same way we found out that Lonnie doesn't have that much to his game. He's going to pop off occasionally, and especially he and LeBron. I'm sure they're going to have little dunk contests in their practices, but he'll pop off occasionally with an occasional 30-point game once every 14 or 15 games, but then he'll follow it up with a 6-point game or a 2-point game, or he'll follow up with those games where it doesn't even feel like he's playing. So I'm not.
Well, what I found interesting, Danny and Abel, in the interview and then on social media, he was putting it out there, down in the head. He's a Laker now. He goes something to the effect of, "Don't you even dare leave me open." Like he was popping off like that already. Yeah. But
well, you know what? He was left open plenty, and I think he had maybe 33% of his threes last year. So, I'm sure teams will be happy to leave him open.
Oh yeah, Abel's still gonna give him a standing O when he gets to AT&T Center next season, aren't you, Abel?
If he grows his hair back, If he grows his hair back, yes, I will.
Yeah. He is Danny Sanders. Follow him on Twitter at Danny Sanders 80. He is Abel Dominguez. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Rodimus Bowtie SA. Both good follows. And give them your thoughts on what they had to say about Lonnie's exit. Let's talk about this rebuild now that Lonnie said he didn't feel he was going to be a part of. And look, it's going to probably, as of right now, barring any type of trade or flipping or total roster revamp before the ball goes up next year, but it looks like it's going to be a down season. And it might be even worse than last year. And last year, I didn't think it was that bad, but they had the worst record in Spurs history last year. Nevertheless, the tank is coming. It seems that is what's the writing on the wall. We'll start off with Abel here. Abel, do you think fans are ready for a down season, another one another down season, perhaps a worse record than last season. Do you think maybe the tank is, or I should say, nicely able, the process is going to keep them interested? Think we lost Abel.
We lose
All
him?
right, Danny, you
I'm,
there?
I'm here. I'm
Yeah, I
here.
think we lose him. Oh,
No, he's here. He's here.
I'm here. Sorry, I think my phone went on black. I'm sorry.
He was
Okay.
he was thinking hard about that answer.
yeah, you were thinking very hard about the answer. Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? Do you think the fact that all signs are pointing to a tank season, that Spurs fans will still be invested, knowing that we're going to trust the Spurs process like they did in Philadelphia?
I think some will be. I think a lot of them won't be. We're gonna find out about all that por vida, that family talk that the Spurs kept doing, if that's really gonna stick around. Because they spent a lot of advertising trying to say, we're family, we're culture, we're this, we're that. Well, now comes the bad part of the family. And are the fans going to stick around for that? I think some will. Your diehards absolutely will. The fair weather fans, I don't think they will. I think the Spurs are going to start losing more so. More fans, more people, more revenue. I think the tank is going to hurt them personally.
Danny, you are a season ticket holder, aren't you?
Yes, that's correct.
Are you going to re-up?
I haven't re-upped yet. I haven't decided whether I'm going to re-up. Had season tickets last year. I've had season tickets, I think, 5 or 6 years out in the past. Here's the deal, and I think we've talked about it before. Abel's right. We're really going to find out who the real fans are during this process, because that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be the process part due, but it's going to be the South Texas version of the process, even though we have Brett Brown participating now. And I know there are some segments of Spurs Twitter that are totally against tanking and think it's going to establish some culture. I don't think that, and here's why. And here's why I'm very much excited about the new season starting, because and I know those people who have followed me and heard me on this podcast before know how averse I am to sending rookies down to Austin or up to Austin. I'm excited because I'm hoping that this year Spurs finally get on the wagon of saying, you know what, we're not winning this year or maybe in the next 3 to 5 years. There's no need for us to send rookies down or up to Austin anymore for development. Sure, maybe send Blake Wesley, that way he can get a little bit more playing time. But I'm hoping to see a lot more of the young guys, the rookies, definitely Jeremy Sohan, Isaiah Roby. That was a nice little pickup earlier this week. And then maybe even Dom Barlow. I mean, he made some noise last year in the Ignite League. That was cool to see him sign. And of course, Josh Primo, which I really believe the Spurs are really banking on him to make enormous leaps. And I think I said it on this podcast in the spring, he's going to be either our second best player, which, I mean, at the time DeJounte was still here. So next year he's going to be our best player. He's going to be better than Keldon and Devin. I know that for a fact. So just watch, because I know he's been working out in the gym. The progress and development the Spurs coaches are seeing with him is notable, and they're excited about it. So I'm excited about seeing the young guys play, because I know that ultimately that's the Spurs' plan, right? They kind of like what Abel and you all were talking about a few moments ago. They want to see whether a group's going to mesh. They want to see whether a group's going to mesh and grow together and play together and learn how to win together and lose together. So, yeah, the fans need to kind of be on board with it. And it is. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be pretty. Last year, whenever we go to games, I'd look around, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle to see the bottom bowl filled and even the top bowl filled. I mean, maybe conservatively, on an average night, you'd see maybe 12 to 13,000 fans in there. On the nights whenever we played like a marquee team, sure, we'd get like 16 or 17,000 fans, but a lot of those fans were fans of the other team. So it's gonna be a tough road to hoe the next couple of years. But for those who have been with the Spurs for decades and remember the times before the playoffs that were made every year, I mean, it won't be new to us, and I mean, it'll be more exciting. But yeah, the fandom will definitely be tested this year.
Hey, well, are you a season ticket holder? Have you ever been one?
Oh, I was one way back when, probably Alamo Dome days, but
Oh wow, yeah.
I'm not rich enough to be a season ticket holder right now.
But I mean, how do you think the Spurs are going to deal with this? Because the whole, it's a small market. They're obviously not going to get a lot of TV dollars because they're likely not going to be on national TV next season. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, so there goes that playoff money.
Probably.
And now, I mean, I don't even know if they're going to be able to make the play-in at this rate. Considering,
I hope they don't.
Yeah. I mean, you hope they don't, because if it's a tank, then let's go full forward. But Abel, let's be honest. I mean, there is the threat of relocation. It existed before in this team's history. Even when David Robinson was in a uniform. I mean, Danny and Abel, you remember? I mean, it was kind of known throughout the city that the Spurs were maybe an inch away from leaving San Antonio. Now with Austin, now with not just one down season, Abel, several seasons of non-playoff appearances, and now they're reaching out to Austin. Now they're reaching out to Mexico City. Should all this be something in the back of the Spurs fans' mind, saying like, okay, it's a lot of stuff happening right now, and now comes this reach for Austin now. Should that be a worry?
I honestly don't know for the most fans. It is for me, but I am still personally scarred from the way Austin did San Antonio very dirty when it came to getting an MLS team. So I don't trust them at all. Um, do I want them to go to Austin? Hell no. I want them to stay here. Um, but I mean, the thing is that when it comes to relocating, yeah, Spurs are gonna suck. They have losing season after losing season after losing season. But we're not the only team that's had that in the NBA and is still in their same place. I mean, how long have the Kings been as bad as have they been? They've been terrible for a while, and they're still there in Sacramento. No, granted, I want to say San Antonio is a bigger city in Sacramento, but media market wise, I don't know. Um, but I'm scared of a relocation just because I know Austin plays dirty. But I hope to hell it doesn't.
All right. Yeah. I know Danny will go to Austin games, right?
Yeah, I'll definitely go to an occasional Austin game. I think it'll definitely curb any type of season ticket dreams. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't see myself making that trip up there every other day or whenever we have consecutive games there in a week. But I'll go to the occasional game, and I mean, let's you know what I mean. For all the crap Austin takes now, as far as saying like, well, they lost their culture and there's no, I mean, now it's very corporate and it's not the Austin of 30 years ago. I was there like a month and a half ago, and you know what? It's a fun town. It's a fun town. It's nice. It's pretty. It's like literally like right on a real river, not a fabricated river. Sorry, San Antonio Riverwalk. And the skyline is beautiful. I've never liked San Antonio skyline. I mean, as a lifelong, well, almost lifelong citizen of San Antonio and somebody who was born and raised here, never cared for the skyline of San Antonio. It's very kind of hokey. The one in Austin definitely is superior. There's more things to do. I'm sorry, there just is. And looking at it from the vantage point of business and what these NBA players want, I can see the appeal. I can definitely see the appeal. Do I want that to happen? Of course not. I want San Antonio to have an NBA team. I mean, that's our only professional franchise team
Mhm.
that we're probably ever going to have. The NFL is not ever going to come here as long as Jerry Jones is alive, and even probably he'll make sure in his will that it'll say, make sure San Antonio never gets an NFL team. So the Spurs will be all we'll ever have. Do I want to lose them? No, of course not. But business wise, it would make sense for that move to happen. So, yeah, I mean, it would definitely curb my attendance to games, but I'll still definitely cheer for them and watch them. And it's not like it's that far. So
Yeah, we'll see what happens now. Danny, it's been a while since you've been on a fan episode, so there's something new now, a new wrinkle, and we'll let Abel go first here. Abel, we're gonna start putting a wrap on this episode of Locked On Spurs. So you have the floor. You can talk about anything that's been on your mind about the Spurs of late, and you got about 2 minutes, so go ahead.
Oh, well, that puts me on the spot. Okay.
You want to defer your time to Danny?
Yeah, I'll defer to the senior attorney this time.
Okay, so Danny, you're up first. You got 2 minutes.
Well,
go.
you know what? Here we go. So I don't know whether it's my palate cleanse from social media the last week and a half, but I mean, here's my take, and I said it before, right? I make observations, whether people think I'm being a hater or being petty. I'm making observations whenever it comes to the Spurs. So, like I said a few moments ago, whenever I was talking about how the Spurs are maybe trying to be ahead of the curve on this, I really do think. I think that they've kind of caught on to the fact that this is a new culture, a new age in the NBA. Society's changing. These new players that are coming up in college, that they're drafting out of college, they've changed. They've watched the NBA that LeBron has made to where it's no longer going to be, hey, we're drafting these players to be San Antonio Spurs for the rest of their career. So I think that they've really caught on to that, and probably internally they've discussed that and said, hey, we need to just start to bring in groups of guys, kind of like what you were saying, Jeff, and I really do believe this, groups of guys to where let's see how they mesh. Let's see how they play together. Let's see what they can do together. Let's see what they can accomplish together. And whether it be them truly trying to tank for Wembanyama next year, which I mean, I am definitely pro that. So whether they're trying to do that or just trying to find a group that's going to gel together and play well together, and like I said a few weeks ago, maybe become that Golden State Warriors team here in about 7 or 8 years. I think ultimately I'm just glad that they've come and they've decided to join the modern NBA. I'm glad they finally come around and started to make trades and started to plan for possibly inserting themselves on taking in salary cap space. That way they can facilitate trades for other teams. That way maybe they can get done a solid down the line, because ultimately that's how they're going to get back to where we all want them to be, which is back in title contention, back making the playoffs every year, back as a contender. And I'm hoping that comes sooner rather than later. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this season, but I'm also enjoying the off season. I'm definitely looking forward to the summer league game starting later today. Want to see the development of these new players, see how they play on the court. So I'm just excited. I mean, you know what? Life's good. You can't complain. It's a Friday. Yeah, I mean, just go out and enjoy life. Go out and enjoy life, and we only have one to live. So there, I said it.
Abel, you're up. Abel, you're up.
All right. Well, I mean, let's see here. I'm always looking forward to Spurs season. I don't care how much they're bad or they're good. It's always fun to watch them on TV. It gives me something to do for a couple hours. So I'll be watching them. May not be as pretty as it once was, but it is what it is. As Boris Johnson said yesterday, them's the breaks. That's how it happens. So I mean,
well, I mean, Abel, I mean, every team goes through this. Every
of course, every team does.
Everyone is the cycle. It's just how you manage the cycle and how you get out of the cycle is to get back to the top is what the Spurs are doing, and they're obviously doing this. Abel, I felt they should have done this when Claw left. I think they should have just blown it up the moment Claw left, because to get a generational talent like that is exactly what it is, a generational talent. So you have to start over again. And look, like, I guess better late than never, but here we are. Here the Spurs are picking up the pieces and plugging forward. But we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you have to say about what these two Spurs fans had to say about your silver and black? How bad is the tank going to be, or the next season? Or are you going to be showing up to the AT&T Center What do you think about Lonnie Walker's exit and what he had to say about joining the Lakers? You can let Danny know on Twitter at DannySanders80 and Abel know on Twitter at RodimusBowtieSA. Give them a follow. Good guys to follow. And I'm pretty sure Abel's ready for the hate he's going to get. Right, you were entry.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Danny gets good reaction, but I'm curious to see what Abel's gonna get from the fans. So, I mean, Danny tends to get more fan reaction on the YouTube page. That's where I see the most of their reaction to Danny. But Abel,
you know why that is?
Wow.
You know why that is?
Why is that?
Because they go to the YouTube page hoping to see my ugly mug, and I don't know why we haven't done the video podcast yet. I don't know why we haven't started to have it to where our cameras are up, our ring lights are flashing. Yeah, that would be a moment. But they go to the YouTube page, they're disappointed, and they give me grief.
Yeah. Abel, be ready for it. Be ready for it. So,
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille.
Yeah, maybe that could be coming down the road. We shall see. But yeah, you can make sure to also follow Locked On Spurs. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, and now, as everybody's mentioning, on YouTube. And also on the Ken's 5 YouTube page, you can find Locked On Spurs there. Ken's 5 is getting very aggressive when it comes to promoting Locked On Spurs. So you're probably going to see it in a lot of spots where Ken's 5 has a presence. So I'm happy about that. I'm glad I got that word recently. So yeah, and it started last week. So make sure to check out kens5.com as well. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On NBA. Basically 30 minutes of all the NBA info you need in just one short podcast. Subscribe to Locked On NBA. So for Danny Sanders, Abel Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game.